you so much. So I'm going to share my screen and just go because I think it's easier for me to just walk you through because a lot of times taxes are very consuming for most people. And so I'm going to throw a whole lot at you today, but I want you to understand that we can help you through this process. This is things that we're doing every single day, but it's the focus is to help you keep more of your hard-earned money. And I'll tell you that you truly would be brain dead not to own a home based business or a business in general. But I think a home based business is one of the best ways to go right now, especially with everything going on. And I'll walk you through why that is. But first, I want you to have an understanding of who I am. I've been a tax accountant for the last 19 years. So I've called myself a tax strategist. That's what I do. I'm looking for deductions. I'm looking for structure not set up properly. I'm looking for things that are costing you money on your taxes. And we find between $5,000 and $50,000 every single conversation that we have for people every single year. And so the focus is not about preparing something, is actually doing and going beyond that and saying, hey, what's missing? So from there, I'm a mom of six. These are my six kids. They are 18, 17, 16, 15, 13, and 8. I reside in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm an international speaker. I speak for Tony Robbins. I speak for Les Brown, for Eric Worre. So I've spoken for over 20 different international speakers, motivational speakers in the last year. So it's been pretty amazing. And, I'm an author. So I have 2 books, and I'll show you the information on those at the very end and give you access to how you can get in contact with me as well. So we do have clients all over the entire country. But here's the first and foremost, I want you to understand why it's important. I love the statistics that you just shared. And on top of that, I want to add a couple things to it, is that the average American will spend more in their lifetime on taxes than they will on food, clothing, housing, and transportation combined. Yet tax strategy is nothing that we ever learned in college or learned in high school for that matter. But it's our number one expense. So when you add it up, property taxes, state taxes, local taxes, you've got income taxes for your federal and state. So all of these add up. And then you have sales tax, use tax, capital gains tax. I mean, they just add up and add up and add up. So the focus is trying to eliminate the taxes as much as humanly possible so that we can help you create true wealth. So kind of my aha moment, I hated accounting for at least 14 years of my life. I would say actually longer than that, 16 years of my life, I hated accounting. I did not want to prepare taxes. I tried to do everything but. And so that landed me 10 years ago. I had a business. I had 3,500 clients. I owned an insurance agency and an accounting firm. And I put that business up for sale and I sold it. And the guy I sold it to stopped paying me after 4 months. And instead of earning the $900,000 that I was supposed to receive from the business, I was $250,000 in debt. So it's a little different. Now, what that did and led to was me deciding, based upon my parents paying for me to join a network marketing business. And I fell in love with the aspect of being able to free up money for people. See, I was taught in college, just like every other accountant, that network marketing, home-based business is not legitimate. So I never did a lot of tax returns for people who were home-based business owners, but I have always been a business owner. I've always had typically a brick and mortar business, and I've had a home-based business. So I knew the tax deductions. I just didn't know that other people did not know what they were entitled to have by having a business. And so I went on this journey. I did a tax return for someone. The husband was an engineer. The wife was a nurse. They could never afford to go on vacation. They, had massive credit card debt. And I ended up saving them $4,100 more than they'd ever gotten back on their tax return by them having a home-based business. Now, they were not super successful in the business, but because of that, they ended up getting money back. They ended up using the product. They ended up telling people about it, and they hit the first rank of residual income in the company after being in for 2.5 years. So that was an eye-opening experience. Now, to first understand why you should have a home-based business, I think you have to go back to what is the two tax systems in our country. So, or what are the two tax systems in our country? There is a tax system that was created to provide wealth for you. That is the business owner tax system. And there's a tax system that was created to steal wealth away from you. That is the W-2 employee tax system. And the reason why, you don't shoot the messenger, the reason why is that as a business owner, we generate economy. We're making money every day. We're putting money back into the economy every single day. And then the hopes are is that we'll one day hire employees. So 70% of all jobs are created by small to medium-sized businesses. So what happens? We hire employees, then employees will then pay the lion's share of the taxes. That's the way the world works. Now, I'm not telling you you have to quit your day job and start a business. You just need to start a business, okay? And I don't care what that business is. I don't care if it's network marketing. I don't care if it's affiliate marketing. I don't care if you decide you want to be a blogger. Hey, you could be a tax professional. Whatever you want to do, you just need to do something. And so what I do is, obviously teach people why they'd be brain dead not own a business, but I work alongside typically speakers, coaches, trainers, and network marketers, and I free up money for people. And I bring people in that would never see this as a viable opportunity for them. And let's face it, most of the reason why is because they don't have the extra money to spare. And they think it costs a lot of money to start a business. So I help them stay in long enough to win through the tax savings alone. And then I help them keep more of their hard-earned money when they make it. So why is this important? Just like you said earlier, 46% of Americans don't have an extra $400 to their name. And 69% of Americans don't have an extra $1,000 to their name. So what that means is almost half of every person you sit down with, they would not be able to take care of a spare tire if their tire went flat. So we have to be able to go out and help these people understand, look, there's a better way. You can free up money by having a home-based business. And we've found that by having a home-based business alone will save someone $4,000 to $8,000 a year. See, I did not understand all of this. And 2 years ago, the statistics hit me like a ton of bricks. So Grant Cardone was sharing some information with me on a webinar, and he said that the average household income in America is $60,000 a year. So I never really put these things together, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Now they're going to pay $14,000 in taxes. So what's left over is $46,000, and the cost of living in America is $53,000 a year. So that means that the average household in America is going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to take 2 weeks paid vacation. So that was eye-opening for me. And I said, you know what? I'm the only accountant that's ever been in the network marketing industry, and I'm not in network marketing anymore. So I made it to the top 1% in two different companies and haven't been a part of the network marketing industry for over 2.5 years. But I'm like, I'm the only accountant that has ever been in the network marketing industry that has the ability to speak and educate people on a level that they can understand taxes. And I was put on this earth to go out and share this information. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can help people save $4,000 to $8,000 a year by having a home-based business. And if they're going in debt $7,000 a year, I can change their life. So that was it for me. I started sharing this information, and I'll first teach you and walk you through. I made these numbers smaller than what Grant Cardone said. I did go look up those numbers. They are perfectly legitimate, but I also don't want to freak people out. So look, I took a $60,000 income, single, married. You've got a standard deduction or an itemized deduction. You have your taxable income, which leads you to taxes. Then you have a take home, you have cost of living, and I lowered it some for single persons. That's why it doesn't say 7,000. And here's what's left over, nothing. Okay. So at the end of the day, if you just had a home-based business, now you're going to save $4,000 to $8,000. So how do we do that? We need to first understand, what is a tax deduction? What can I take advantage of that I could not take advantage of before as a W-2 employee? And they are tax deductions. So now when you become a business owner, you have the ability to write off things that you're already spending money on. So we'll walk through those in just a second. But first, let's step back and say, okay, what is a tax deduction? A tax deduction is any expense that's incurred with a purpose of producing or gaining income, it's incurred with a reasonable expectation of resulting in future business, or it's reasonable under the circumstances. Now, what does that mean? If you're attempting to earn income today or in the future and it's reasonable, it's tax deductible. Is it reasonable to think that I spent $85,000 last year as a platinum partner with Tony Robbins and $57,000 in travel? Yes. And the reason why is because I was doing that to grow my business. I was using it for coaching, for advertising, for marketing my business. I was also using it as continuing education so I could learn more so that I could grow my business. So, and all the travel that went along with it is 100% tax deductible. So the great part is about having a home-based business is you have the ability to take your living expenses and convert those into business expenses. And the only thing that you need to do is to do what's called daily business building activities. Well, what is that? That means that you are spending 3 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes a day, attempting to earn an income. And what do you do to earn an income in the network marketing industry? You send people messages on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You call them on the phone. Most people don't do that anymore. You send them a text message. You say, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's have a conversation. All of those things are considered daily business building activities. You can also create ClickFunnels and do marketing campaigns and things like that. But at the essence of it, it's just attempting to earn an income by sharing information with people about what you're doing. Whether they ever join you or not is irrelevant. So as a W-2 employee, we can all agree we have living expenses and itemized deductions. So itemized deductions, most people get no benefit. Most people, I mean 96%, get no benefit from itemizing their deductions. And the reason why is because the new tax laws came out in 2018. They increased the standard deduction. So the standard deduction for married is $24,000. For single, it's $12,000. And so from there, we have, let's look at the itemized deductions. What can we write off? Well, business use, medical bills and medical insurance, that is not a tax deduction typically. And the reason why is because you have to go above 7.5% of your adjusted gross income in order to get any benefit. So if you made $100,000 in adjusted gross income this year, and 7.5% of your AGI is $7,500, and you had $10,000 worth of medical bills, you would only get $2,500. So that's crazy. So on top of that, you've got property taxes, state tax, sales tax, income taxes, all of that gets added up. The cap on those are $10,000. Then you have mortgage interest. So mortgage interest, you can write that off, charitable contributions, that is capped at 50% of your adjusted gross income. So you can see quickly how you can eliminate most of your deductions that you think you have on itemized deductions. And then we have living expenses. So living expenses like meals and auto expenses, cell phone, travel, internet, home office supplies, daycare products. Some of you may get dependent daycare, but most of us don't, and it's very minimal on how much you can get back. So here's what happens. When you decide that you are now a business owner, when you join a company, when you join an affiliate, when you, you could get a business license, if you're in business, that's the day that you start being able to take advantage of tax deductions. So medical bills and medical insurance, there's something called an HRA. And so an HRA is a health reimbursement account. It allows you to write off 100% of the medical bills and medical insurance of your employees. Well, who are your employees? That would be your spouse. You would pay your spouse $100 a month. Your spouse would in turn pay 100% of the medical bills. You would reimburse him, and then from there, or her, and then from there, whatever's left, that would all be 100% tax deductible as a fringe benefit. So as opposed to being a living expense or an itemized deduction and being limited to 7.5% of your AGI, you can actually write off 100% here, and we can help you get that set up. Property taxes. This would be like a vehicle that you would use for business purposes. Or if, for instance, we just bought a toy hauler, that is now a tax deduction for us. And the reason why we bought that is a 44 feet toy hauler, which is like a travel trailer. And we bought it to travel around the country, that I could do speaking engagements. I could take my kids with me, and we could work. I would be able to work from the comfort of that toy hauler, and I would have a place to stay, because that's super important, especially with what's going on with COVID. So property taxes, the insurance, all of those things are tax deductible. for that toy hauler. So what else? Business use of home. Most people believe, or they're taught, that business use of home could actually trigger an audit. That's not true. Okay. I've never in 19 years had a client who actually claimed business use of home that was audited. Did have one that was hairdresser. I've only ever had one that we've dealt with that was an audit that was audited in 19 years. And on top of that, it was a state audit and we won. So I don't want you to be concerned about claiming business use of home. What I will help you understand is that myth. And the myth is that if you have W-2 income, you get no deductions virtually. You might get an earned income credit or a child tax credit, something like that, but you have no benefit to be able to write things off. So therefore, when you become a business owner, you now get tax deductions. So you're a little more likely to be audited. This year has gone down dramatically because obviously they don't have anybody to work, but I don't want you to worry about that. And your expenses have nothing to do with you being audited. It has to do with your gross income increasing drastically or decreasing drastically. So on business use of home, we can write off insurance, property taxes, mortgage interest. You can depreciate the home. You can write off the utilities, the repairs and maintenance. All of those can be written off for you by having a home-based business. So it's just a percentage of your square footage of the office divided by your square footage of the home. Now, charitable contributions, we're going to talk about this in a second, but there's actually a way to bring in charitable contributions and force that to be 100% tax deductible as a business expense. And what I'm sharing with you, I'm showing like a couple $1,000 for all of these expenses, but that's not a minimum or a maximum. It's just kind of an average that I see. So let's say I pick up the phone and I call Sally and I say, Sally, I've got something I'm super excited about. I want to share it with you. Can we go to lunch? She says, yes. Sally's my friend anyway. We're going to go to lunch. So I get in my car and I drive to Sally. That's 58 cents a mile that I get to write off. Now I sit down and have a conversation with Sally and I tell her what I'm doing. And she says, you know what, Courtney, I love this. This is great. Whatever. You know, I want to join you for the business. I want to join you for the product and the service. That's awesome. Okay, great, Sally. Now, Sally could say, you know what, Courtney, like I really love the product or service, but I'm not interested in making any money. Okay. So, or Sally could say, you know what, Courtney, I think you're going straight to hell or jail. I don't agree with this. I don't like this. I don't know what you're doing, but I am not in. And then I would just look at Sally and say, okay, Sally, well, you know what? I appreciate it because I sat down with you today and I had this conversation, 50% of my meal is a tax deduction because I attempted to share this with you. And regardless if you decide to join me or not is irrelevant. See, I'm going to save $4,000 to $8,000 this year. And that's exactly what I was trying to teach you how to do. And if you're not okay with that, that's perfectly fine. But on top of that, not only saving money in taxes, but it was also a way for you to buy a product at wholesale versus retail and a way for you to potentially make some extra money. And the last time I checked, the only way that you can make money in the company that I'm involved in is that, one, I'm saving more money in taxes, right? So I'm sharing this information with someone. Now they're saving more money in taxes, $4,000 to $8,000 a year. And then they're buying a product at wholesale versus retail. And then on top of that, they have the potential to make some extra money. I don't really understand what part of that you didn't understand, but it's perfectly fine because I appreciate you for allowing me to share it with you. Now I get to ride 50% of my miles or 50% of my meals. And then from there, I'm going to get back in my car and I'm going to ride 58 cents a mile back home. I already wrote off the 58 cents to get here. And then when I get home, I get to write off a portion of my house. It's typically $3,000 to $5,000 a year in a tax deduction that I can write off. And then I needed my cell phone in order to run my business. So that's a tax deduction. And then I needed my internet in order to run my business. That's a tax deduction. And then guess what? I get to travel around the world and see the most amazing people for continuing education, to grow my business, to meet with upline, downline, potential clients, including you. If I wanted to fly to you and see you, I could do that. All of that is a tax deduction for me and is a travel expense that I can write off. And then on top of that, I can hire my kids. And I have hired my kids to work for me. And so my kids, I have 6 of them. I pay them $12,000 a year. They don't have to pay taxes on it. I don't have to pay taxes on it. That last time I checked, that's $72,000 in taxable income that I don't have to pay taxes on. And then from there, that saves me $28,000 in taxes. And then because I've hired my kids to work for me and my spouse, because I get extra benefits from medical bills and medical insurance become 100% tax deductible. Now, guess what? I get to ride my swimming pool. My swimming pool is a fringe benefit because my children are my employees. And because I allow them to swim in my swimming pool and that swimming pool is on my property, I get to write that off too. I get to write off a portion of my home. I get to write off my swimming pool. I get to also take my kids with me all over the country and all over the world to see me speak and be alongside me. And they help me at the events that I'm at. So they're personal assistants, all that good stuff. And I'll typically go a couple days on the front end and a couple days on the back end, and I will spend with just them. And that is special. One is special, but it's also tax deductible. So if you're not in for that, that's perfectly fine with me, because guess what? I get to write off my office supplies. So my laptop is a tax deduction. My cell phone is a tax deduction. My microphone that I have in front of me is a tax deduction. My camera in front of me is a tax deduction because I have a home-based business. Now, legal and professional fees, that would be like tax preparation. That would be anything you pay me to do, anything you pay an attorney to do, coaches, counselors, all that good stuff, as long as it's business related. So I think we can all agree that the deductions that I've listed out so far have nothing to do with owning a business or added to how much money you are spending out of your pocket today. The only difference is that yesterday, if you were a W-2 employee only, and that today, when you sign up to be a home-based business owner, now you get to take advantage of these tax deductions that you did not before. The only extra expenses that you would have would be things like advertising. And guys, there's 440 more of these tax deductions. So this is not all of them. These are just the handful that I see as network marketers, as home-based business owners. So the extra expenses would be things like maybe advertising. You might want to spend money on Facebook advertising, or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Continuing education, hands down, continuing education is the number one thing that you can spend your money on. And the reason why, other than your product, because you got to take the product in order to tell people about it, or the service, but the continuing education changed everything for me. It puts you around the right people. It puts you around people who have already succeeded, who are willing to help you get to where they've gotten, because a lot of times they financially benefit from you, which is awesome. And that's the way it should be. I mean, that would make the world a whole lot easier. That would make people connect together and stop, instead of disconnecting and be in competition with each other. So it is an amazing opportunity for you to be around the right people, get the belief that you need, not only in yourself from personal growth and development, but also in the company and in the people that you're working with on a daily basis. So I love continuing education. So you may have dues, which would be like Zoom. That could be, like if you have a StreamYard, if you have expenses for a website, if your company charges a monthly fee, that would be dues. And then you have cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold would be like products that you buy to resell. Now, here's what I'll tell you. People ask me all the time, can I write off my personal consumption? It depends. If you are attempting to earn an income with the products that or the services that you're buying, and you're taking them and you're sharing your story, your before and after, or you're talking about it, you are marketing that story, then that to me is advertising. If, however, you are not talking to anybody about it, you're just taking your product or service, no, don't write that off. Now, samples, things that you give away, yes, that would be tax deductible, and things that you're selling, that would be cost of goods sold. So you can see quickly, we're up to $35,000 right now in expenses with just a couple $1,000 from each of these, I'd say 15 different deductions that you're entitled to take. So I'm not even going to use that number because I want you to see how this all breaks down. So as a business owner, if I'm a W-2 employee with a home-based business making the same $60,000 a year, here's what happens. Let's just use $25,000 as a business expense number. From there, you have a standard deduction or an itemized deduction, 12 or 24. That leads us to our taxable income of $23,000. If we're single, married is $11,000. The taxes on that are $8,300 single, $6,100 if you are married. And then here's the take home. Well, $51,000 is your take home. Single, $53,000 if you're married. Cost of living, we're going to leave it the same. We said that cost of living on average is $53,000 for a married person, $50,000 for a single is what we dropped it to a little bit. And now you're positive. Now you are making your difference. You've not made $1 in the home-based business industry, but the difference of the take home is $5,600 if you're single, $4,500 if you're married, and you would have to make an additional $3.79 per hour for every hour that you work, or $3.05 an hour if you're married, in order to be equivalent to the amount of money that you would save just by having a home-based business. Last time I checked, there's not a lot of businesses giving out $3 an hour raises right now. So home-based business is the best bet. Now, what happens when you start making money? So the great part about making money is that you, in no way from there, you're not having to pay taxes on it yet. So we had an additional $5,000 a year, $6,000 a year. That would be $500 a month. And then you have business losses, because we just went through the losses or the expenses of $25,000. Now on paper, you're showing a loss. So see, this loss can be offset against any income, W-2 income, capital gains. It could go against your rent. If you had, rental income, any dividend income, interest income, all of that, even retirement income and Social Security income, it can go against that. So from there, we now have our taxable income is $29,000 single, $17,000 married. Our taxes, $9,500 single, $7,100 if you're married. Here's our take home is $56,000 and $58,000. Cost of living is the same. And here's the difference. $10,500 if you're single, $9,500 if you're married. You would have to make an additional $7.03 an hour for every hour that you work, 2,000 hours a year, or $6.48 an hour if you're married, to be equivalent to the tax savings of having a home-based business and making an additional $500 a month. In summary, there's never been a better time to have a home-based business for you and your family. You need to go out and share this information with everybody. Take the tax deductions that you're entitled to take. So don't let anybody scare you into believing that you can't take advantage of these deductions. Hire your family, and especially your children. One, that's a huge tax deduction. Hire your spouse for the HRA ability. And that there's also other fringe benefits that you can put into place, things like college, as well as, writing off an athletic facility. So there's hundreds of different fringe benefits that you can benefit from by having a home-based business and hiring your family. The next step is accountant. It is very important on who you hire to be your accountant. I just got finished up with a tax strategy session. The accountant did not list themselves as the paid preparer on the client's tax return. She told me he had not e-filed it. He mailed it in, which tells me that, one, he doesn't have the ability to actually file tax returns. He definitely doesn't have the ability to e-file tax returns. And that's a major problem because his name wasn't listed on the tax return. So she's more likely to be audited, because if you prepare your own return, like TurboTax, like Jackson Hewitt Online, all these things, you are the one signing the tax return saying it's correct. You are more likely to be audited, and you're more likely to make mistakes, because that's what typically triggers an audit. Is you make a mistake, you check a box, you say something you weren't supposed to, or you write off something you were not supposed to, and then that triggers an audit for you. If you have an accountant that is telling you that network marketing is not legitimate, or home-based business is not legitimate, or you don't want to claim those deductions, find another accountant. Find somebody who backs you, and then always want to make sure that they are willing to handle an audit if you were to ever get audited. So that's one of the things we include in every tax return for us. The last thing is take advantage of tracking your expenses. You have got to track your expenses. It cannot be in an Excel spreadsheet. It needs to be in an accounting software. We can help you with that as well. So I'm going to give you access to all of my information on this next slide, but do not keep track of your expenses in an Excel spreadsheet. And the reason why, it's better than nothing, but if you do get audited, you are going to be required to go back and do the bookkeeping to prove to the auditor that all of your expenses have been tracked, that you have reconciled your bank accounts, and that you are entitled to take advantage of those tax deductions. Obviously, everyone needs a plan B right now, and because it doesn't matter how much money you make, it does truly matter how much money you keep, and you have got to do everything legally, morally, and ethically that you possibly can to keep more of your hard-earned money. So, I appreciate, don't be brain dead. Go out and find a business, something you're passionate about, something you can open your mouth about and share. But that's all I got, Nate.